Am I live? Am I actually live? It's saying connect streaming software, go live. It's saying I'm live, but I don't even know whether I'm live. Can anyone hear me? Put in the chat if you can hear me. I don't know. I'm just there faffing around because I don't even know whether we're live or not. Yeah, no one's saying anything in the chat yet, so I don't know whether we are. Hello, ads. I'm live. Yeah. Yeah, oh right, well, that is really weird because I didn't even click the go live button. That is crazy. So I'm like, is everything okay? Is like the stream okay and everything? I didn't even, that is weird. That is weird. I didn't even click the go live button because I'm on OBS today, not StreamYard. And I literally just click start streaming on my OBS. And what you normally have to do, you have to click go live on YouTube after you've clicked start streaming on OBS. So I'm there just thinking that I'm not live, and I'm actually live for about 30 seconds. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, so throw your questions in the chat anyway. We'll get on with this now. I know I'm actually live. So yeah, throw your questions in the chat. And I've also got a little random question generator. Yeah, we saw you pulling your... No, oh, for God's sake, Chris. Seriously, Chris. That would have been bad, but that would have been bad if I didn't realise and I walked over there or something, and I don't know. I needed to put something on, some article of clothing or something. Anyway, so I've got a little random question generator, so we're going to do a few questions from that. But also I'm going to take questions from the chat as normal. I thought it would be interesting just to do kind of something a little bit different with the random. I was actually looking for a podcast generator thing, or a podcast topic generator, because obviously a few weeks ago I had this idea of doing a podcast, and I couldn't really find one because, as you would imagine, I mean, really, it's just the same as a random question generator, isn't it, really? So, I couldn't find one of those specifically, so I thought, you know what, I'll type in random question generator and we'll do something like that. So, I'll do a few of these, just random ones, obviously. And if you've got any questions in the chat, as I say, I will take any of those. But before I do that, I should do a few shout-outs. So we've got Cheryl Bidder in here, we've got Roy, we've got Lucy, we've got Chris, we have King Fernando's, we have Tommy, we have Jennifer. Hi there. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend these out to the chat as well, and then obviously anyone who wants to put answers to these in the chat can do. So, as I say, we just on this random question generator. I pulled one up first off earlier on today, or possibly was it yesterday? Maybe today, yesterday, I don't even know. But yeah, anyway, I pulled this first one up, and all you literally do is click for question, and then it pulls another one up. I will avoid any that are a little bit far too out there, or that I think is going to spark far too much of a fiery debate between people, because, yeah, I'm just not bothering with that tonight. So, first one is, if you lost all of your possessions but one, what would you want it to be? So if you lost everything but one item, what would that item be that you wanted to keep? So obviously I've not got any prep for this. I've not prepped for these questions or anything, and I don't know. I actually don't know what one item... I'm looking around. The thing is, I have a lot of items, but I have a lot of low-value items. I don't really have... Or not even just low-value items, but just items that I don't really care about. The only item that I somewhat care about in some description of the word would be my phone, like a lot of people do these days. I really don't think there's anything else, but I think to be honest, for a lot of people, it's going to be the answer is going to be their phone, especially in this day and age. Actually, is it day and age or day and age? It's day and age, isn't it? I always get things wrong. I tell you, I always get sayings wrong. I don't know whether I must have said this in another episode some time ago, but I used to call it next door book one, not next door but one. So yeah, so I've had a few funny sayings that I've just completely not known how to say them. But yeah, so it's probably going to be I mean, To be honest, my computer, it's going to be relating to technology because I'm just that generation, really. So either my computer or my phone. But we'll just go into the chat, see if anyone's put a response in. Oh, we've got a few more people joined here as well. We've got Michael, we've got Tracy, we've got Marie, we've got Pick a Flipper, and we've got, oh no, don't let me say that name. I know you've been in the chat loads before, but I can't say that name. Somerlig Lobster, something like that anyway. Not bothered what you say as long as the truth. Well, yeah, I generally, I say 95% of the time I say the truth, but you have to give me 5%, I have to do little white lies, or else, you see, you can't do 100% because you trip over yourself. I've said this before. If you try and do it for about 4 weeks, because I've done it before. I've tried to do it where you don't lie completely, not even like the tiniest little thing. It is so hard to do that. Because every single one of us, no matter how tiny little thing it is, it might be something so little, so stupid, but we all do these tiniest little lies. And sometimes we're not even fully consciously aware that we do them. And so what I do is I say, right, 95% of the time I'm truthful, but I always allow myself, I accept that kind of 5% of, oh well, I'm gonna do a little white lie here and there. Because if you don't, what you're doing is you're putting yourself on too high of a standard. You're putting too high of a standard for yourself, and then when it comes to the fact at some point that you do make a little tiny white lie, you start to berate yourself for it. Oh no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't. So I never say 100% of the time, but 95% of the time, that's good. But you always have to allow yourself that little bit of imperfection. Anyway, so see if I don't think anyone's put any. Oh no, someone has. Tracy's putting a question in. Not a question, sorry, an answer in. She says her phone. Jennifer says phone. So I mean, I can see that being a lot of people's answers to this question. Really, it's one of those questions that these days you're probably going to answer phone. So we'll go and click for another question here. What's your favourite book? That's kind of a fairly standard question, I think, but for me, I mean, I only started reading, as most of you know, about last March, April, May, that sort of time, around that time anyway, and I loved it when I started to get into it. The first book I read was that book on Jung, and then, oh god, I've got my stack of books up there. Oh, The Philosopher's Cookbook I read next. But one of my favourite books so far, because I've only read, in my entire life, I've only read about 15 books all the way through, and 12 or 13 of those books are in the last year. So, I would say, Holy, is it Holy Fools or Holy Madness? Oh, what's the title on that? I think it's called Holy Madness by Dr. George Feuerstein. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant book. That amazing. I wanted to find a book that was about essentially radical mystics and radical gurus who, radical spiritual gurus who really kind of just were crazy with their teachings. I just got so. I just wanted that book, and I couldn't find any real literature on rascal gurus. Not in a big way. I mean, there's books out there. There's a few of the rascal gurus did autobiographies and stuff, but there's not like huge. There's not like one book that encapsulates all these different rascal gurus. Except I found out there was. So I bought that and I read it, and my God, it is a brilliant book. So I'd say that one. Although I did recently, about 2 weeks ago now, finished Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, which is a book on comparative mythology, and it incorporates psychology in there, it incorporates religion in there, and all the rest of it. And that was, I mean, anyone who's read it or knows about Joseph Campbell will know that it is a brilliant book. I mean, there was parts of it I don't know, I just wasn't fully immersed in, but then it came back again. I think that's what can happen with books. I don't know whether any of you guys who are big into reading find that, where you have a book and maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe there's just parts of it that you're not as interested in, or you just can't get with as much, and then you go up like this with your interest as you're going through the book. But by the end of the book and looking back on it, and also especially those last few chapters, it was like the the last chapter in particular, actually, and I was like, yeah, that is a really phenomenal book, and also the language that it uses. I mean, the I don't even know how to describe it, but the words, the level of the words he's using. You can tell he was a brilliant academic with language and all the rest of it, and how much language how much vocabulary he had. So yeah, I would say those two. Anyway, we'll look in the old chat, see who's answered this one. Marie says, Love Enduring Journey has always been my favourite book, or Love's Enduring Journey. Oh wait, it's saying YouTube is not receiving enough video. Can someone tell me, am I jumping or what do you call it, freezing in the chat, because it's saying here YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Maybe not, maybe you'll just experience buffering rather than actual me going crazy. Anyway, if you are seeing that I'm lagging, just let me know in the chat. I'll see if there's anything I can do on OBS, but I don't think I can, because no. Okay, I'm fine, cool, that's alright. But if I do in the future, I'll have to sort it out on OBS. We've got here, says Animal Farm. It's the last one I can remember. Animal Farm. Oh, who's that? Is it not by George someone? George. It's very, very famous, isn't it? I mean, Animal Farm. But I mean, I've not read it or anything, but I'm just trying to think of the author. I swear it's George someone. We didn't do it in English. I know that a lot of people on the syllabus did it, like the Animal Farm, but we didn't do it. In fact, I think when I was in year 9, and then we were doing the options for year 10 and 11 for what kind of you're going to be studying in year 10 and 11 for GCSEs, I think it was only the people in the top set of English, which I wasn't. I was about second or third set in English. I don't know anyway. But it was only that top set that actually got to do English Lit, and all the rest of us just did English Language. And it's funny. I mean, I'm not really big into literature or anything like that. But what I am finding is, as I explore books and I explore academia in a fresh sense, and not just from how I was presented it in school or college, but from an independent and fresh sense, I do find that I gravitate towards poetry. I really like poetry. And it does make me think, actually, maybe if I did have the opportunity to do English Lit alongside English language, I might actually find that's pretty decent. I might find I kind of found that love a little bit sooner. But I don't know. It's, yeah. But it is interesting how that goes, really. I think a lot of people say it, though, when you're out of school, you actually... You start to develop learning on your own, self-learning, and you really start to find what you're passionate about. And it's kind of annoying, that, because you've just done all the studying, but you've not really had your heart into it. And then you're like, oh, bloody hell, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a shame, really. But, I mean, there are those who do find it early on. There's those people who, at 13, 14, really, really interested in it. And that's brilliant, if you can find something at that age, that is absolutely brilliant. But I think more often than not, people end up going back to it and think, I wish I had learnt something a little bit different in school, or I wish I had applied myself more in school. It's either the case of I wish the teachers had taught me different things, because I've learnt recently that I'm interested in other stuff that wasn't included on the syllabus, or obviously it's the fact that you didn't apply yourself. It's usually one of those two, and for me, I think it's a mix of both. But I think I would have loved it in GCSE if they actually did, I don't know, books about people who were the best in their... I mean, maybe they did do this a bit in science and English and stuff, but if we really learn about the people... But, I mean, it's typical for me, because I like to learn about the people behind the ideas. I like to learn about the ideas, but I like to learn about the people to know what they were like. Because I like to get a connection with the people. Because I like to be inspired by someone. So I like to, let's say, if I wanted to be inspired by Einstein, yes, I'd get to know his theories, and I'd be inspired by his work. But also I like to get inspired by the guy. How hard did he have to work to get to where he was? What, what kind of a man was he? Was he a very emotional guy? Did he have, certain battles with illness in his life and so? I like to get on that level, and I think that level of emotionality doesn't necessarily come in high school, and the kids don't really want to learn about it. But I think, in a way, it would help if you could actually stimulate something inside someone on that emotional level within a certain subject, and then draw them in, both with the character of the person you're looking at and the theories or the hypotheses the person looked at. Then you might think, oh, you know what, I really think about it. Because it's all about trying to get people to really, something to stir inside them, isn't it? Anyway, I've rambled too long on that one. Man and his symbols. That's young, isn't it? Man and his symbols. Oh, I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, I gave it away when I thought I was dying. Wow, you thought you were dying. Wow. The Art of Love by E. Fromm, I think. I don't know. Book. Who reads anymore? My last book was Death of a Salesman. I don't know. I thought that before I started reading, I thought, who does read anymore? I mean, I honestly, I hated the idea of books. I hated the idea of reading. I was so far from reading you couldn't imagine. Honestly, so far from reading you couldn't imagine. But in the last year, I've really started to appreciate them. And I've actually started to think, well, if someone who really didn't like books, has taken up reading, I suppose, because I was under the idea that not many people of my generation read, and I think there is some truth in that. But I do think, actually, well, if I were a person who didn't read at all, he's now got into reading, possibly there is more than I'm thinking. But I do like it. I enjoy it. So, yeah, it is good. Anyway, let me just go down and see if there's any other answers to that question. I don't think there was. No. We should all read the Bible at least once in our life, just a thought. I've got the Bible over there, actually. Well, I've already read, I said on a video, actually, ages ago, I've already read the children's Bible, because I was getting into it. I didn't know whether the real Bible, the proper Bible, I didn't know whether I'd be able to actually stomach that at the time of me reading the other Bible, because I wasn't really very theologically advanced. I love that phrase. I wasn't very theologically advanced. Anyway, so you can see that smirk when I'm like, yeah, I'm really impressed that I use that phrase. Anyway, so yeah, I wasn't very like that. I wasn't into religion at the time that much. I was getting into it and all the rest of it. So I thought, I'm probably not going to be, I say, good enough. I'm probably not going to know all the phrases and all that of the proper Bible. So I read the children's Bible. Brilliant. Loved that. Condensed it right down. Awesome. But recently I've just bought, I picked it up from a charity shop, actually. I bought the King James version. Now, I don't know whether the King James version is the best version or anything like that, or there's another one, isn't there? The new Universal, no, it's not New Universal. New something version, anyway, and modern version as well. But I do want to read that as well somewhere, because I do think despite, it doesn't matter whether you're religious or not, really. A lot of religious teachings, from what I've found with studying different religions over the last, 2 years, because before I was reading, I was studying them online and stuff. But what I found is, strip away all the gods and the goddesses and all the reincarnation and all that. What you're left with is a basic set of pretty good rules to live by, essentially. And you can pick and choose from different ones. So you can say, well, I like the compassion out of Buddhism, and I like this out of Christianity, in which actually there's a lot of similarities between Buddhism and Christianity in terms of what they taught, especially what Jesus taught compared with some of the ideas of Buddhism, especially like the Eightfold Path and stuff like that, right action and all the rest of it. So, you can just pick and choose, and I've always had this weird idea from very young that I don't want to, I don't know how to phrase this, but I'm not criticising or looking down upon any of religions when I say this. It's just the way that I feel. I've always kind of thought that I'm every religion, in the sense that I take little bits and bobs from each religion and put them all into my own kind of philosophy on life, essentially. Not necessarily an ideology or a belief system, but just simply a way to live. And so that's what I've found when I've been looking at different religions. I've not looked at all of them yet, and I've not looked at certain ones in detail yet, but the bits that I've had, I mean, certainly Buddhism, Hinduism, I've looked into a bit more. Christianity a little bit. I mean, I was brought up kind of Christian from a Christian primary school, so I kind of have that indirect experience built into me, although I've forgotten a lot of the traditions and all the rest of it, except Christmas, Easter, something called Christingle, which actually, can someone illuminate me on that? What the hell was that? Because we go into the church, and this is what I remember. We went into the church every year. I don't know what time of year it was. I think it was like October or something. And you had a little orange, and you had little 4 things coming out of the orange, and then you had a little candle. What was that ritual for? Because I don't know, but I want to learn what that is, because obviously I'm interested in religion now. It's so weird, because when I was younger I was like, why do we have to do this? And now I'm like, oh yeah, actually I really want to learn this again. But yeah, so it's always the way, innit? But so yeah, I want to know what that Chris Dingle thing. But yeah, so I've got a few kind of bits of knowledge on different ones. Anyway. But of course we always get back to the point of, throughout history we have to have the idea that religion, I say religion, I've always said that it's the people, not the religion specifically, but the religion and the people combined then go to create friction and wars and all the rest of it, because you've got 2 opposing religions or something, or 2 religions that feel they're opposing, and then obviously there's this clash. Anyway, we're going to do another random question, so if you haven't already provided an answer in the chat and you would like to on this next question, please feel free to do so. Oh, it's a nice one, this. What's your favourite candy? Now, I don't really eat candy in terms of, if we're excluding chocolate from candy, because when I think of candy, I think of sweets. So I think of, hard-boiled sweets, I think of millions and all that kind of candy and sweets and stuff like that, and popping candy and all that sort of, but I don't think chocolate. Now I know possibly over in the US chocolate is kind of, I suppose, incorporated within the idea of candy, but for me personally, I've never thought, when I say candy I always think of hard-boiled sweets and stuff like that. But I don't have a favourite candy. But I just love chocolate. Any chocolate. I love chocolate. I just can just eat tons of it. My favourite chocolate used to be Caramac, and now I've not had it in a while. I think I turned off it a bit for a while. I really do like Milky Way, although, not Milky Way, sorry. I do like Milky Way. I like everything. I like all chocolate, but, well, pretty much. I say all chocolate. Actually, no, I don't like all chocolate. That's an over-exaggeration. It's just I love chocolate that much. I can even appreciate the things that I don't like. Yeah, it's hard. But, I don't actually like all chocolate, because there's bits with nuts in. I've been very explicit with that in the past, where I've said, oh, actually, no, I don't like chocolate and nuts, so I don't like chocolate and fruit and nuts and all that. Yeah, it's not for me. I know that people like it, but, I mean, I've not tried it for a while. It might be now, but I don't know. Yeah, but Milky Bar, I really like the white chocolate. I do like Milky Way. Oh God, there's a lot. I don't know, but there's a lot of chocolate. But sweets, candy. I don't know. I mean, trying to think. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Haribo I quite like. If ever I get some candy or sweets or whatever, I'll do Haribo. I do quite like them, but yeah, that's probably about it. So, what have we all said in the chat? What's everyone's what ads is reincarnated? I'm not reincarnated. What are you on about? No, I don't know. You must have missed the tail end of what I was saying or something. I'm not sure. Strawberry Bomb Bomb. Oh, now that's a good choice. That actually is a good choice. I have to say, that's pretty decent. You know what I used to like, actually, when I was a kid? Blueberry or bubblegum bonbons or whatever they're called. Oh, they were good. Yeah, they were pretty good. And, what was the other one? Oh, you know what I used to like? But I don't even know where I used to get these from, because I don't even know. Literally, when I go in a sweet shop now, which is very rarely, but when I do, I don't see them, so I don't know where I was getting these from. But those little blue dolphins, did anyone remember them? Them little blue, tiny little things, but you get a big bag of them, and oh, they were lovely. They were the gummy dolphins, like I guess they were no, they weren't bubblegum flavoured. I don't even know what flavour they were. They're just an odd flavour, really. Yeah, I've read the children's version and the adults version. Went to church as a kid and early teen. Oh, cool. The Bible was the last fiction book I read. I prefer factual. Just saying. Yeah, I prefer. Well, that's weird actually. That is really weird because I prefer non-fiction, but I don't know why this is. But for some reason, when I just kind of do a very brief level of introspection there, just immediately in the moment, I've kind of pulled the Bible in my own awareness into the realm of non-fiction, which is weird. I don't even think really I've categorized it as one or the other, but it seems that I've kind of pulled it more towards non-fiction and fiction. The reason I say that isn't because of the actual story of it. To me, the story of it didn't happen. And you know, if you're Christian and you want to believe it did, that's fine. But I believe it's an analogue for what it's meant to. Now, obviously, it depends whether you're a fundamentalist or not, whether you're going to actually take the scriptures as literal, and then you're obviously going to say, well, this happened exactly how it did. I'm not a fundamentalist. I don't really like the idea of fundamentalism, although saying that I've not looked into it enough to have a complete firm opinion on it. But from what it basically is saying, fundamentalism, of, you know, looking at the scriptures in such a way, I don't agree with it. So I take it as an analogue, and I don't view God as an old man or anything like that. You know, I view God as an energy. If anything, I view God, as I've said on my philosophy channel, if anything, I view God as particles, as the particles of the universe. That's what I view God as, essentially. Now, we then get on to pantheism or pandeism and all the rest of it. But, so that's why I'm not making this distinction between fictional and fact, because when you read, let's say when I read between the lines of the Bible, I'm not seeing it say, oh, and God created the animals 2 by 2. I'm seeing it as science, the scientific process of the universe, is in line with the idea of God. And the scriptures are just an exaggerated way of getting a story across so that then it helps people understand it essentially a little bit better. But it's basically an analogue for something else, for how another way of interpreting it. And obviously if you have been a Christian for a while, you'll realise that you won't be so much a fundamental, not necessarily realise that God is particles. That's my own personal idea. But you'll realise that God isn't necessarily a bearded bloke in the sky. You'll realise that it's much more obscure, but it's obscure in a nice way. It's it's different. It's not just that fixed image, that kind of fixed patriarchal image. And so that's probably why I'm making that distinction, because for me, a scientific text and the Bible, you can actually intermingle them together if you read between the lines and pick out different things and stuff like that. And also if we're going down the route of a little bit of Christian heretic, is it heretics? Is that how you pronounce it? Heretics. I think it's heretics. Doesn't sound right, that pronunciation, but anyway, if we're going down that route, then obviously the pantheism slightly comes in there, and then if you've got that kind of angle on the Bible, you can then really intermingle it with science, because then you can think, well, waves and particles obviously form, let's say, solidified light, which is what the universe is made up of, and then obviously if solidified light is all around this, God obviously said, let there be light. You can then kind of see how that would be an analogue for God. So science and religion working together in such a way. I've never really been one to say science is the one true thing. I've never really been one to say religion is the one true thing. But if we intermingle them, and let's say mystics work with physicists, we can really make some good progress, because we're actually thinking openly about things rather than just thinking this is the one way. Because when people think my way is the best way, i.e. let's say a scientist says my way is the one true way, my way is the best, then they get blinded, they get corrupted by their own kind of just wanting things to be in that particular line of thinking, and they're not malleable, they're not open-minded anymore. Whereas, and again, the same is true with the mystic. If the mystic is like, well, my way is the one true way, they get blinded. But if you can put, let's say, a mystic and a scientist in the same room, and they can talk it out, and they can think, oh right, well, this is, oh, I can see a parallel here between what you're saying and what I'm saying, and then we can actually, between the two, start to realise that potentially, and it is only a potentiality, but we are talking about the same thing, the same reality here. It's just you've chosen to perceive it in a mystical way, a more emotional or subjective way, and I, the scientist, within my day job, of course, behind the day job, you might be a very emotional and subjective person, but in my day job, I've chosen to define it and look at it in an objective way. And so, it's just two different kind of viewpoints on the same reality, essentially. And when we actually look at both of these realities and try and fit them together and intermingle them together, it shouldn't really work, because objective and subjective are completely contrasting. But you do get a better understanding if you allow not too much objectivity, not too much subjectivity, but you intermingle them together where necessary, because obviously you've got to have as best objectivity you can within a scientific experiment. But after that scientific experiment is done and you've collected the results, you can interpret those results in a subjective way. Nothing says you can't do that. And that might be the key, the objectivity, because a lot of people like to actually look at results of a test in an objective way, not a subjective way, unless it's a personality test or something like that, because you have to be subjective in that circumstance to some degree. But actually, it might be that little bit of subjectivity that we're missing to be able to look at it in a new angle and think, oh, actually, I see how this could relate to this, and you get a new understanding. But that's just my kind of hypothesis on it. Anyway, we'll go down the old chat. How many words does an ad say on a daily basis? I really don't know. Closet number gets a vacation to a reseller's heaven in Delaware, US. Oh my god, population 8. Oh, that's interesting. There was no archaeological evidence of Hitler's. I thought that said Hitler's then. Hippies, I don't know. Hittites until 1908, even though it was in the Bible all along. Before then was thought that there was no. I can't quite understand what that's saying. I don't know. There was no archaeological evidence of it, because I don't understand what Hittites is. I think that's where I'm going wrong. I don't know. Anyway, I go up. I'm sure you're trying to say something there, but I don't know. Right then, Buying Space says, I quit chocolate for 30 days and started to have side effects. Whoa. And I lost hearing in my left hour. You see, I couldn't do that. I have to have chocolate every night. I can't do it. I just love it. I don't have tons, but, well, Easter egg period, I have tons, but other than that, I don't have tons. In it to flip it says Pez and Fun Dip. It's as close to eating straight sugar as one can get. Oh, it's brilliant. That's just sparked something in me. I'm so glad you said one there, as close as one can get. Because I know some people will say it sounds like pretentious and all the rest of it. But years and years ago, a lot of people said the word one. And it was like just kind of, I suppose it would be just, I don't know, it's a cool way of using the vocabulary in a different way, I suppose. It's just interesting to say one. And I heard this lady say it actually this morning in a charity shop. I've never heard it. I've hardly ever heard anyone say it in the flesh, when I'm walking around the charity shop or wherever. I hardly ever hear anyone say one. But she said it and I thought, you know what? More people should. I know it's a bit pretentious, but I think we've lost that. People should say it. Now, you don't want it to get to the stage where people say it all the time, but just dropped into conversation every now and then, just someone says one, I think it's just classy, Now, yeah, there is that line, isn't there, as I said, where it can be pretentious, but I think there's a line with it. You have, like, classy, you can use it in a classy way, or you use it in a pretentious way. And if you start overusing it, it gets to be pretentious. But also, I don't think it's just that. It's the way in which you say it. If you say it in a certain way, if you kind of say it in a certain setting, you can really get it to sound classy. And it doesn't sound pretentious at all. But then there's, on the flip side of that, there's another way that you could possibly say it that's very pretentious. You know, obviously, if you had a certain way with your voice or whatever, or you kind of just made your voice sound a bit more posh, and then you're saying, oh, what, one does not do that, or what, you know, but I don't mean that, but just in conversation, as you normally would speak, it would be interesting. And people have lost that a little bit, so it's interesting, that is. Anyway, but don't everyone say one now. You can't say one all the time, just every now and then. Anyway, we'll do another question, so get your answers ready. Oh, this is a good one. What fictional place would you most like to go to? Oh, that is good. That's a good one. I know that I suspect a few people may say Alice in Wonderland here, or what's it? No, that's not Alice in Wonderland. It's not called Is it called Wonderland? I don't even know what the place is called. Alice in Wonderland. Well, it must be called Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so maybe people are saying Wonderland. Or another good one is the Narnia place, isn't it? What's that called? Well, is it called Narnia? It's called Narnia, isn't it? I was thinking there's another name for it. Narnia would be a good one. But everyone knows mine. But I'll look in the chat anyway, see what everyone else is saying. Middle Earth. Oh, that's a good one. That is class. Hittites. Hittites, I don't know. Hittites, an ancient civilization. Interesting. It's called Oz. Is it called Oz? No, it isn't called Oz, I don't think. No, it's not called Oz, I don't think. Oh no, wait, is it? I don't know. Middle Earth is a very good one. Paradise. I see what you did there. Yeah, that's good. I'd choose Neverland. Neverland's a good one. Does anyone know my one? It's pretty obvious. Someone will get it. Whack in the chat if you think you know my one. Yeah, but who's the Wizard of Oz? In Alice in Wonderland, do you know I don't know, because you've just joined, haven't you? Do you know we're talking about Alice in Wonderland? Because I thought Wizard of Oz, in my understanding, I thought that was a separate thing, not like Alice in Wonderland, but I don't know, I've not watched them. No, I don't think anyone's going to get mine. in the chat. Gallifrey, yeah, that's a bloody good guess. That is a bloody good guess, you know, but it's not, no. No, but that's a good one, actually. Oh wait, yeah, I'm completely mixed up. Yeah, I thought so. I didn't know, to be honest. I wasn't 100% sure, because you know what I'm like. I can get things wrong so easy. Doctor Who, Gallifrey. No, not Gallifrey. No, I mean it would be a second, but no. Who do I? I wouldn't say I model myself on this person, but I somewhat have traits of him in some regard, in my more eccentric versions of myself. Obviously, it'd be the chocolate factory from Willy Wonka, of course. That'd be, oh my god, that'd be so good. That'd be awesome. Because I just like his dress sense. I like how whimsical and weird and eccentric the factory is. It just like, yeah, that would be awesome, so yeah. Willy Wonka. Oh, Beck said, yeah, I don't know whether you said after I said it. Probably didn't, actually. You probably got it in just before I said it, because there's a delay, actually. So, yeah, Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory, definitely, yeah. But that is good. Anyway, shall we do another one? Has anyone else got any more answers for that? I just thought the same, yeah. I mean, it was between that one. It was between, really, the TARDIS / Gallifrey and Willy Wonka. I mean, they're kind of both first, to be honest. It's hard to say, but that one would be very, very cool. Would be cool, the Chocolate Factory. I mean, a lot of people would say that would be cool to go to. Question, which Doctor from Doctor Who are you most like, Ads? I'd like to say Sylvester McCoy, but I don't think... I mean, yeah, of course, I do have a bit of a dark side, which in the later seasons, sort of season 26, he had a bit more. But Yeah, I don't know. Possibly Sylvester McCoy, but maybe not so much with that slightly darker side. But if not Sylvester McCoy, then probably maybe Tom Baker. It's hard. It really is. Oh. Maybe Matt Smith, actually. I was thinking Tom Baker, but maybe Matt Smith. Hmm. Yeah, maybe Matt Smith. It's either Tom Baker, Sylvester McCoy, possibly without that slightly darker element of him, or just maybe I probably play the darker element in a different way. Well, within my own personality, I exhibit the darker element in a different way. Let's say, but Matt Smith that's pretty childish, whimsical, eccentric. I'd say that pretty much sums me up a bit more. Anyway, shall we do another question? Let's go on here. And if you got any more questions about reselling or not, you whack them in the chat. Feel free. And so, this is good. Who inspires you to be better? Who inspires you to be better? So this could be I don't know, it could be a fictional figure, it could be someone who's died, who is an inspirer of yours, who's a really famous figure, or was a famous figure. It can be someone in the world now who is famous, it could be someone who is in your everyday life, who you particularly enjoy the company of, and you think they're just a brilliant person, and they're always kind and fair and lovely, all the rest of it. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'm gonna have to have a little think about that while other people say theirs. Which do you prefer, Star Wars or Star Trek? I have not really watched Star Trek. I mean, the only ones I've watched are the newer movies, or one of them. I might have seen the other one we did. We did like two, didn't we? So yeah, I would say it'd have to be Star Wars, but Star Trek, I think that if I actually gave it a solid go, which I haven't yet, if I'm honest, I just haven't. I'm just like, I'm not that bothered about it. But if I gave it a solid go and went in there open-minded, I think I might enjoy it somewhat. Possibly not as much as Star Wars, but I don't know. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Star Wars, because when I was growing up, I was kind of prime time. It was possibly a little getting to that later stage for me, but in 2008, was it? We did. I think it was 2008. We started Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated show, and obviously I was 12 at the time, so I was slowly kind of getting out of that phase, but only slowly. I was still kind of in that phase, especially with the lightsabers and and the heroic kind of all that sort of stuff. For a 12-year-old, it's still fun. So, I was kind of getting out of that stage, but I still bloody loved it. I thought it was absolutely interesting. And I still watched it till I was about 15. I bloody loved it. I thought it was bloody brilliant. So that kind of got me into Star Wars at that age. And then, I obviously watched the movies and stuff. I don't know whether I watched the movies, the prequels, because I was a bit young for the prequels. So it was 1996 I was born, so prequels were 99, did we start? I think it was 90... Was it 97? 97, 99? 99? 99 maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, I was too young, wasn't I, really? So I don't know whether I watched any of the prequels, but I definitely watched the Clone Wars. And then after that, I had a break from Star Wars for, I don't know, 15 to 20 or 15 to 18, 19, something like that. And then I went back into it and watched the originals. I've just done rewatching the originals not too long ago, only about a week ago, as most of you will be aware, and I've really enjoyed them. I watched the prequels as well. Actually, I've just finished watching all of them. So I was saying to Andrew on a stream a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago now, that I was going to go through all the 11 movies or whatever they are. I think there's 11 now. And I had a break through watching a few of them, and then I've just recently got back to just finished Solo the other night. Although saying that, I wasn't really paying attention that much to that movie. I was on my phone for a bit of it, so I'm like, I don't really know if I can provide a valid review on that movie. But certainly the bit that I watched, which was I'd say it was a good 60-70% of the movie. It was just like the last 30% I didn't really pay much attention to, but it seemed pretty good. I did like the fact that they actually gave a bit of a backstory to Chewbacca. Now, I think, again, because I was distracted towards the end, I think they were doing the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs or something like that. Now, I wouldn't show that on a movie, because what you have is you have these scenes in movies and TV shows which become iconic, right? They become they're referenced throughout the entire, let's say, 5 series of this show, or they're referenced throughout 6 movies or whatever, and they become really, really, really iconic moments, and everyone wants to see them. They're all like, oh, I wish they would make that in a movie. I wish we'd put that iconic moment that everyone always talks about in an actual movie, instead of just talking about it in the movies. Problem with doing that is everyone's expectations are like really, really high, because this has to be brilliant. And so everyone goes into this movie when we show something like that with crazy high expectations, knowing that they're going to see this awesome thing that has been talked about for ages. And so if you do it, you've got to be very careful how you actually execute it. So I think that's what we were doing, because he did say something about doing a Kessel run or something, it was like going to Kessel or something, he said. But I can't remember at the end of the movie whether I had watched that bit or anything, but I think they did in the movie. And if I went back to rewatch it to confirm that, I think I would be underwhelmed with it, because I think, it's one of those big events. Like, the movie was good, don't get me wrong. From the bit that I saw, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty decent. I thought the actors were good in it, had some good actors in it. It was just a pretty decent movie, but, with that little bit, I'm thinking, it's high expectations and stuff. Anyway, let me have a look in the old chat. Did I even say my answer to it? Who inspires you to be? I don't even know. I don't really know, actually. I can't really give an answer to that. I mean, it's far too egotistical to say myself, but I hate to say it, but it's partly me. It's not me. No, you know what? It's not me. I'll tell you this, so then I'm not being so egotistical. Or this might be more egotistical. I don't know. But it's not me. But it's the ideal version of myself that I see in the future. That's what it is. You know how people say with this law of attraction thing or whatever, that they try and manifest a future reality in which we're all successful and happy and all the rest of it? Well, I don't really do that. I just have a general idea of where I want to be when I'm older. And I always see that person as very strong, capable. It's an ego ideal. That's all it is. It's a future ego ideal. So I see that person and think, they're really good and strong and all the rest of it. And you work backwards, or you do what's called reverse engineering of your life or whatever. And obviously you set it up so then you need to do this by this time, this by this time, this by this time, in a rough sort of way, so that then you can get to where you want to go. And obviously you have to make the acceptance that plans are going to change and things might be completely rerouted, and then you have to remap your life and redo the reverse engineering. But and I've not done reverse engineering for the entirety of my life or anything, just subtle little things, like, that might be a good thing to do to get me to where I need to be. That's the level I do it to, but I know there's people who do it to a far greater extent than that. So I see that future version of myself, and I'm like, he's got it, he's cool, he is. So I know that I'm the only person who can get me there, but I'm not there yet, but that's who I look up. It's so weird, isn't it, that? It's like, you know what it's like? And this is going to sound really odd. It's like I'm my own father. And I know that sounds really odd, doesn't it, in a way? And that's grounded in a lot of mythology and Jungian psychology, that idea. I'm obviously not going to go into the idea in incredible detail, but there's a lot of mythology and psychology in that idea of that kind of projection outwards onto the future, and me actually looking as myself, as my 40-odd-year-old self, as my own father, and then him in a subtle way guiding me even though he doesn't exist yet. So it's almost as if the thought of him creates himself. It's weird. Me having the thought of him in the future creates him in the future. Very, very odd. But that's always how I've seen myself. And when I was 13, 14, 15, I had that ideal for my 25-year-old self. Well, I'm turning 24 next week, And obviously, I'm coming to that stage. So now I have it of my 46-year-old self. And when I get to 46, I'll have a wise old man ideal onto my 70-year-old self if I make it there. I mean, I might not make it to 46, I don't know. But, I'll have that when I get to 46. I'll have that. And then when I get to the 70, that'll be it. I'll be no more ideals on top of that or anything. That'll be... I'm there. I'm the wise old man. I'm the whatever you want to call it. That's how. So I've always had from 12, 13 the ideal right in the future of my 70-odd-year-old self as being the wise old man. I want a big beard. I want a big well, maybe not lots of hair, but I want a big beard. I want definitely maybe not loads of hair back there, but big beard. Dress a little bit kind of raggedy in a way. Have a nice antique walking stick. And, be the image of the wise old man, essentially. And again, there's a lot of Jungian psychology in that, but I didn't realise it when I was 13, of course. But so that's how I've always done it. So that's my kind of who inspires me in a way. And it's weird to say. It really is weird to say. I know. I am one of my own, aren't I? I really am one of my own. Right then, let me have a look. So, question. What do you think are the 5 most beautiful things in the world? That's a hard one. I have to say, I quite like sunsets and things like that. I really like sunsets. I don't know. Yeah, and not only sunsets, but the way that the sun casts itself when it's going down on a summer's evening. Let's say you're on a hilltop, or not a really high hilltop, but just a little hilltop, a little mound or something. And you can see, you're just slightly raised above. You're only maybe 10 metres above the rest of the ground. And you can see across all these little fields. And the sun's just going down. It's projecting itself across all the fields. And, it's almost this orangey colour. I really like that. I don't know. I really like it when I meet someone and it's just... I just really click with them. That's something that, and I know it's not necessarily a thing or an event or or an object in any way, but that's something that I find very beautiful when we can just click like that. You just walk up to someone, you just talk to them for 5 minutes, and for whatever reason, you just feel connected. That's what I like as well. I don't think I think of. I mean, I could think of about 50, but I'd be doing loads of little things, I think, even these are little things, really, but I don't know, I can't, you see, I could say, well, I like emotions, I like certain emotions, I like feeling happy, I like feeling loved, I like sharing my love with people, I like doing YouTube, I like, there's loads of things like that, but I'm trying to think of things that I really, when I think of them, or when I'm embraced with them, it really makes me think of pure life, of what life really is in its purest form. And a sunset like that is just a beautiful moment in life. It really makes you appreciate it. Meeting someone and having a connection with them on that instant scale makes you appreciate life. It's those kind of things. So I'm trying to think of more like that, but I don't know. It's quite hard, but definitely if I actually went away and thought, then I'd be able to... It's like that kind of thing of, the really bad thing of when, let's say, if you go to couples counselling, I don't know whether this actually happens, but it's on TV shows, where you go, right, write down 10 things about your partner that you like. It's like, I can do it, but just give me a bit of time. It's like, oh, God. Anyway, so, no, I didn't watch Lost in Space. Oh, why? What's Lost in Space? Is that a Star Wars one? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'd say, what I like? I really like Empire Strikes Back, that Andrew said he likes. When I watched that, I was like, yeah, this one's bloody good. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back is awesome. A New Hope is pretty good as well. Question, if you would have to get a tattoo. If you had to get a tattoo right now, what would it be and why? I would say I want to get the yin and yang symbol, because that's the only thing that I could put on my body and be happy with it on my body. But then again, I'm like thinking, yeah, but I don't really want to I don't want to brand myself as anything. I don't want to brand myself as the yin and yang. So I just wouldn't have a tattoo. But if I was going to get a tattoo, it'd probably be the yin and yang symbol, because that's what I'm really passionate about at the moment, and I will continue to be passionate about for a very, very long time to come. But I don't really want to brand anything on my body. I'm just happy with my body the way it is, essentially. And I've never really been one for tattoos. My family has never been one for tattoos either. But I see why people get them, and I can appreciate them and stuff. And I certainly can appreciate, if nothing more about them, I can certainly appreciate the artwork of them and the kind of the beauty of the actual creativity that goes into them. But anyway, let me just do another question, because I've not done one in a while. No, we're not going to do that one. That's a too simple one. But now I'm just going to click through all of them because I can't be bothered. No, that's too intimate. It wasn't intimate in that way, by the way. What's one place you never want? Oh, that's a good one. What's one place you've travelled that you never want to go back to? Ooh. You know what? This is probably too harsh, but there's not many places that I've travelled that I never want to go back to. And I would want to go back to this place, but just it would be very low down on my list. And I've been there loads in my life. I've been there like 5 times. And I'm sorry for anyone who lives there, but it's just I can't think of anything else. But that's Blackpool. I'd be like, I've been there a few times. It's fine, but it's a bit like, I don't know. It's not the best place in the world. Let's just say that. And so yeah, I've travelled there a numerous amount of times. But I wouldn't really be in a hurry to get back there. Not to say that I necessarily would never go, like the question says, but I just wouldn't be in a real hurry to get back there. So, yeah, Blackpool. So, what about you guys? Where have you travelled that you would never go back to, or you possibly wouldn't go back to? Right then. Dr. Smith was pretty funny. Ooh, Dr. Smith. I don't know what that is. I've not heard of that. Pleasant Valley Picker, it's kind of, well, what we're doing basically is we're doing a random question generator, but from that question generator I've kind of had little philosophical discussions in between and stuff, so it's kind of like it's a random show, let's put it that way. It's just a random show. Right then, let me have a look up the chat, because I think I missed a little bit before. My mum as always, as she brought me into the world. Oh, that's nice. Myself, or there's a lot of resellers that do work-wise. Oh, nice. Revelations at the end of the Bible, it says about the fires and disease, earthquakes, just before Jesus comes back with millions of angels. Very frightening, really. Yeah, it is. I need to read the book of Revelation. I did actually. That's one thing I did read years ago. Well, not all of it, but parts of it. And it's a frightening. I think that there was, when I read parts of it, it was kind of a frightening little read. But yeah, it's interesting. It interests me nonetheless. And it's similar that we have that idea in Christianity, and then the Kali Yuga in Hinduism, which is the kind of a final stage before. I think it's before what's his name? The Destroyer. Not Krishna. Shiva. Oh God, terrible. I should know that. But Shiva comes down and does his dance, the prana. It begins with a P. I can't. What is it? Begins with a P. Might not begin with a P, actually. Might begin with a V. Anyway, he does his dance of destruction, and he's got all his arms waving around, and he's dancing, and he's destroying the universe. And then it turns around, and it's the face of Brahma, the creator, and then the world is created again. And so we see that with a bit of an idea with that, with obviously the world being destructed, and then I don't know whether it says this in Revelations or not, I'd have to read it again, but possibly because Jesus comes down with his millions of angels, maybe that's obviously meaning the kind of a rebirth as well, of a recreation, the kind of the getting rid of the bad and the disease and all the rest of it, and cleansing it. I'm not sure, but certainly there is a little distinction or union between the Kali Yuga of Hinduism and that kind of little bit in the Book of Revelations there. So that interests me quite a lot. And of course, we're in the Kali Yuga now. We're about 5,000 years into the Kali Yuga, I think, which is the essentially humans live for just under 100 years in the Kali Yuga. In the one above, I forget the names of the yugas. I think the one at the third yuga is the Kreta Yuga, but don't quote me on that. And in that yuga, humans live for like 1,000 years, and there's, there's more good than bad. And so essentially, the first yuga is it's like 100% bliss. Second yuga, it's like 75% bliss. Third yuga, 50-50, good and bad. Fourth yuga, 25% good, 75% bad. And it's funny how we see this in the world, how it's funny, it's just weird how this lines up. And as I've said, I'm not really one for looking at the hard kind of religious ideas of, I look at them, but I don't necessarily absorb them into reality myself in what I personally believe. But it's funny how we're meant to be in Kali Yuga at the moment. We're 5,000 years into that Yuga, as I said, and that's the Yuga that is 25% bad. And look at the natural disasters that are happening in the world. They're getting worse and worse all the time. Look at the diseases that are coming along, all these different things that are happening, both either in the current present day or that's happened over the last few hundred years, whatever it may be. It's very funny that. It's very funny. Now, we can look at it clearly from a scientific viewpoint and just say, well, obviously the population's increasing and that means that all these other things are naturally going to increase, and obviously we've been destroying the planet naturally just ourselves with climate change. So there's a scientific way of looking at it, but what if the scientific way goes hand in hand with the religious way? What if maybe not the time scales of the yugas are correct, because I think the yugas last a good few 100,000 years, if not a few million years. I'm not 100% sure. It might be, I think maybe the last yuga, is it 432,000 years, something like that. Anyway, that's coming into my mind, but again, I have to do a bit more research on the numbers. So maybe the numbers aren't correct, because obviously by the numbers we'd be around for another 420,000 years or whatever it would be, by that estimation. But what if the kind of just general structuring of it is correct? You see, what I've found is within these very old traditions that are 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 years old, a lot of these wise old sages, a lot of these people who actually put things into philosophical and religious texts like the Tao Te Ching or the Hui Ching or the Upanishads or anything like that, a lot of that wisdom is, when you actually cross-reference it with science and you take out a little bit of the airy-fairy bits that are just the kind of icing and stuff like that, the fancy bits on top, when you take those out and you actually look at them side to side like that, you actually start to say, hang on, bloody hell, those people are really wise like 2,000, 3,000 years ago. You start to think that people weren't, like now with all our technology and everything, you think to yourself, oh, like people 3,000 years ago were stupid. The brains must have been less evolved or whatever than ours. And you know what I mean? Not necessarily in the physical sense, because that was only 2,000, 3,000 years ago, but like just in terms of the intellectuals, that they weren't as sharp, they weren't as this, they weren't as that. But God, they were really wise, a lot of them. So it's crazy. Now we've got science to actually cross-reference what they're saying and stuff, and we can actually see this. And there's a lot of neurological evidence for the ideas within the Tao Te Ching, the Taoist philosophy of life, of kind of flowing with life and all the rest of it, and getting into states of flow and stuff like that. And there's a lot of neurological processes in the brain that happen when we're actually getting into those states of flow, described 2,500 years ago by Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. There's actually connections between those neurological states that are actually positive neurological states and those simple techniques for living as well. And that is crazy how knowledgeable those people must have been to know that, and obviously understand the body in such a way, the body and the mind in such a way, before any level of technology or scientific advancement has come along. Because obviously science started, 400 or 500 years ago, something like that. So it's incredible. They're incredibly wise people. And but not many people actually take on board the wisdom they were saying, because everyone just thinks, a lot of people think, that was a few thousand years ago, we need up-to-date scientific information. But what a lot of people don't understand is that is in line, a lot of that can be in line with science. A lot of those practices on life, those methods of how to live, it's incredible, really. Anyway, we'll do one more question and then we'll get going because it's been 1 hour and 4 minutes. Oh, that's a good one. I don't know how many people are going to answer this one, but what's your worst habit? So I'll quickly look down the chat. I'll say mine first if people don't want to say theirs first. But I just need to have a look down the chat before I do that question anyway. Asking for a friend, his name is Moses. Why? What did you ask, Tommy? Question, does the Bible talk about Corona transforming from the great summer beer to a virus taking the world by storm anywhere in it? No, I don't think so. Bloody hell. When the Bible and religions were created, the world was scary as humans had no real idea how the universe worked. So it makes sense religions have some scary stuff. It does, yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Yeah, it does make a lot of sense that there would be a lot of kind of more scary stuff in there. And also mythology and stuff like that, and just storytelling as well, so just creating stories and creating ideas of monsters and all the rest of it. It's almost like a way of kindly scaring the kids, if you can kindly scare kids. I don't know. Just giving them a bit of a fright and stuff, I suppose, as well, in terms of mythology. Or stories in that regard. Most people probably have been at my ex's. Oh my god, what's that in relation to? I don't know what that's in relation to, but it's funny. Oh right, okay, I get it. You're just having a chat. Okay, cool. How do you think the world will have changed in 100 years' time? I think it's a hard one. I think that technology will be much more advanced. I think there's two ways we can go. I think that we can go the route of addiction and isolated existence. Have you ever seen the film Where's Wally? Not Where's Wally. Where's Wally? No, Wally. Not Where's Wally. Wally. You know, the little robot that goes down to Earth and they're basically on these ships and everyone's fat and they hardly talk to each other. They're just talking to each other all on screens and basically they can't even walk and all the rest of it. And everyone's fat. You know, it's just, that could go one way. That could be the addicted to technology route, and it would be a bit different to that possibly. But but I think that movie really encapsulated what it could be like in 100 or 150 years if we go down that addicted to technology route. The people who worked on that must have been bloody, they must have been on point. Really did some good research and good thought into it. But a lot of it does make me think, oh god, yeah, that could be what we could do, where we could go. But if we weren't addicted to, if we don't go down that real route of addicted to technology, then it's possible that, technology advances. We obviously get different screens. We possibly get phones that are kind of invisible, or phones that are kind of can be projected out, or phones that can be projected out from a little chip in your hand or something like, I don't know, something like that, or phones on the back of your hand. I think we've even already got something like that, to be honest, where they can do that with some technology, but like phones on your hand and stuff, and so we could have that. But possibly we become aware, we all become very, very consciously aware of our addiction, and that would have to happen around this time, the next 10 years or so, and then we can integrate it within our society in an organic, natural way that isn't imposing on our social life, on our on our face-to-face communication with each other, and we still actually get out there into nature and all the rest of it. So I think there's two ways it can go, really. It can go the positive route or the negative route, and that's all that it can ever go, really. I mean, we could get a parody. Well, we could get, not a parody, but we could get a kind of parallel between both of them. So we kind of maybe come in together and they both form kind of a somewhat negative, somewhat positive one. That probably is the way it's going to go. So, yeah, but I think that it could be very, very destructive in the future for people. And if I ever have kids, which I don't know whether I will, not at this point. And every time I get close to my birthday, I think, bloody hell, I'm like, really, I should be getting to have kids soon. I'm not even ready. I'm not even at all ready. In my kind of wanting to have kids, but also in what society deems a suitable age to have kids at, and maybe that's between, I don't know, 20 and 30, something like that. But so I'm thinking, oh God, bloody hell, getting on now. But I've always thought if I have kids, I'm going to be careful with the way I raise them, and I'm going to make sure that I try and get them out there into nature and kicking my balls about. And kicking my balls about, that sounds a bit odd. Having a kick about or whatever, or going down to a river, not skinny dipping, but, going down, possibly taking a swimming cosy and swimming down there and just having a laugh and stuff. Because then that's, in a way, that's my contribution to, and now that sounds very egotistical actually, but it's my way of keeping society, even if it's just on a very small level of just with my child, just with one child or two children, of just keeping someone in the world who has been brought up to appreciate nature, to be out there, and to not necessarily be incredibly fixated to technology. Now, there's a bit of a paradox there, because of course we could say, well, I'm more attuned and connected with technology than my parents, so therefore I'm going to bring that child up slightly more in line with technology than my parents did with me. So they brought me up slightly more in line with technology than they were. So then what we do is we end up in 500 years time or 200 years time anyway getting to a point where just through the generations people become a lot more like addicted to technology and all the rest of it. But if we could maybe maintain some subtle level of people on a general scale bringing their kids up, interacting with nature, not saying that technology is bad, because it isn't, but saying at least, look, there are dangers and negative sides to technology, and we have to respect it, just as you would respect fire. Fire was a brilliant invention, I don't know, thousands and thousands of years ago, brilliant invention, but you have to respect it, because fire can get out of control. If fire gets out of control, it can kill people, it can burn down tons of houses. Just the same with technology. Brilliant thing, brilliant invention, but it can get out of control quickly, so you have to learn to respect it, and you have to learn to also divert away from it where necessary, and just connect with nature and the organic side of life, essentially. So that's what I've always thought. I'm gonna try my best to do that, and if it means that I have to kind of just not allow my child a phone for a little bit longer, because a lot of people give children phones at like ridiculous ages now. It's like 4 or 5. It's like, what? I had a phone when I was 13, and that was young. So I've always thought, like, maybe 12 years old or something, I'd give my kids a phone. And that's young. I'm going young there. Because, really, if it was up to me, I'd be like, well, 15 or something. But you can't be doing it. I mean, yeah, I know, you can make the argument with me for maybe 10 or something like that. But what's a 4-year-old in need of a phone for? I mean, they don't go out anywhere without the parents. Why do we need a phone? They've not got a social... They're not there, like... What is this? Is it like a network of little toddlers all on phones communicate? What's going on? Oh, did you get your hair done yesterday? Like, oh, it looks lovely. Bloody hell. It's like, for God's sake, come on. What's going on? You don't need a phone. You don't need one. So, sorry, mate, you're not getting one till 10 or 12 or something like that. And as I say, that's young, because there'll be people in the chat saying to me right now, bloody hell, 12, Adam, that's bloody young, that is, you should be giving him at 15. A lot of people in the chat will be saying I didn't even have a phone until I was 25, because obviously it was landlines or whatever it was back then, it wasn't even mobile. But anyway, so yeah, anyway, we'll leave it there for that one. I'll just have a very quick look up the chat before I actually go, and and then I will get off. But yeah, nice little chat today. I hope people enjoyed it. Just something a bit different with the old random question generatory thing. I take Ad seriously, and also I don't think he believes in religion to the meaning of what the norm make it out to be. He has it. No, I don't. I don't know whether you were in, Tommy, before, but I actually said... It was probably way earlier on in the chat before you were in. Basically, I look at all the religions, or as many as I can. At the moment, I've looked at a fair few of them, and I cut out all of the fantasy elements and all of the mythology elements, right? And I enjoy the mythology elements. I enjoy them for what they are, but I see them as mythology or just stories. So cut out all them, and then I create my own kind of philosophical way to live. Let's call it that. That's the best way to describe it. Philosophical way to live based on the certain traits of different religions. So, for example, I said earlier on the compassion out of Buddhism. So I take the compassion out of Buddhism, which is one of the central themes to Buddhism, along with a lot of other stuff, of course. But compassion out of Buddhism, right? That's one of the traits I want to incorporate into my own philosophy. Right? What did Christ say? So Christ said, love thy neighbour as yourself. Oh, well, actually, I agree with that. So you know what? I'm going to put that into... I mean, I'm not going to be a pushover. I'm not going to be some hippie who walks around and says, oh, yeah, I love you. I'm going to do everything I can for you. But I'm going to take it involved, and where I can... if it's perfectly fine for me to do, I will help people, and I will obviously bring them into... I say my community. I've not really got a community, but I bring them into my domain, my kind of area of awareness. Let's say I don't even know what I'm saying, but I bring them there, and then I'll help them essentially. So that's what. And then I think, right, well, I like this idea. For example, there's a brilliant idea in Hinduism. It's one of the paths to moksha. Moksha being enlightenment. I've done that so many times today. I mean, with little quotes, but I love doing them. Enlightenment, enlightenment. Enlightenment. Anyway, so it's one of the paths to moksha, and it's what's it called now? I've got too much stuff in my brain. Right work. There we go. Give it a slap, and then it'll work. Right work done well is a form of prayer. Now, I think that's a brilliant idea in Hinduism, and essentially it says, but whatever you're doing, I mean, this is the broader element of it, how you can interpret it. Whatever you're doing in life, whether it be your career, whether it be washing the dishes, whether it be talking to someone, whatever it may be you're doing, right work done well is a form of prayer. If you do it to the best level you can do it, then in that action you are actually doing a form of prayer. You're actually praying in one regard. And I think that's a brilliant idea, because if you actually consciously be aware of that throughout your entire day, and you think, right, you know what? I'm going to do this, I'm going to be quite conscious. I'm going to just do this editing process on my computer. Oh, you know what? I didn't put that in. Oh, bugger it. I'll just export it. No, wait, actually. No, let me just go back. I should change that. You go back in, you change it, right? And then you export it, and it's much better. That's brilliant. I'm taking that from Hinduism. So a bit from Buddhism, a bit through Hinduism, a bit from Christianity, bit from this bit. I mean, definitely a lot from Zen, definitely a lot from Taoism, because they're two that I gravitate towards a lot. So I just do, and then like, yeah, okay, that's me. But it's all about personalizing it and thinking, right, well, I'm gonna make it something that I feel is a good philosophy to live by. So that's what I do generally. Anyway, I said I was going to go, and I'm not even gone, so I'll have to quickly look up here very quick, and then I don't think Tommy is taking ads seriously. Oh, he is. Oh, he's just having a joke when he says that. Let's take a poll, press 1 if you think... I think that's pretty funny, to be honest, because obviously the famous thing where Jesus walks on... Wasn't it Peter who was in the boat, and he was like really... No, it was... I don't know who it was. It was either Peter or someone, one of the apostles, out in the water. And one of the apostles was shaking like mad, really, really scared. And Jesus, because of the storms all around his ship, and he got flung out the boat. And Jesus was like, calm down. And he walks out on the water and grabs him. And it's cool. Does he pick him? I think he picks him up, doesn't he? And then can that apostle then walk on water with him or something? I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe, I can't remember what it said in the story, but yeah, it's a good story though, that. I like the one about the water into wine, but my best Jesus story, the one I love the most, is the one where I've said this before, I think, where he washes the feet of his apostles, and then obviously is saying, not being a slave, but how did he phrase it? I forgot how he phrased it, but being a servant to someone, or being, actually doing things for others is the highest form you can be, essentially, because you're being kind. I mean, there's a kind of mystical utterance to that as well, but it's a very interesting little passage there. It's an interesting little story, and it's a really beautiful thing when you think, yeah, I'm going to do this for someone else and have that selflessness. I mean, always by either the Yetzer Hara in the Jewish tradition or original sin as well. You're going to have selfishness. That's part of being human. But, it's nice when you can do something selfless in that way. And there's almost an element of selfishness to that selflessness, in which I'm going to discuss on my philosophy channel in a few weeks' time. I've got a video I need to do for that, but getting around to doing... I've recorded loads of philosophy videos last week, but I've getting around to this one. I need to do that, because I need to pad it out a bit more. It's not a full video yet. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much for everyone who joined me. If you did like it, then please do drop it a like. We've got 17 likes. God, that's crazy. We've got 34 watching and 17 likes. That's half. Half the people who are watching this have liked it. That's crazy. If you haven't liked it and you're still watching, whack it a like. We'll get over half. See if we can get to 18 likes. But yeah, so I'll leave it there. What have I got coming out? I think I've got a sales update or something tomorrow. I think it's sales update. So, with that being said, I've got a sales update tomorrow, so you'll see me tomorrow. I've got a few other videos in the future all scheduled out. I've actually got something very interesting that I've just finished editing today. Just a very short video, but it should be quite interesting. Possibly coming out in, I don't know, a couple of weeks, something like that. Maybe a week and a half or something. But that'll be interesting anyway, so stay tuned for that. Look out for that is what I was going to say. And I will see you in the next one. So see you very soon, guys. And I don't even know how I end this. How do I end this? Because I can't... The go live button, it's not even... I don't even know. Well, I'm just going to have to click this button here and see if it stops. So I think this is going to stop now. So